Yeah, it's like my wife telling me you got to stop eating the desserts every night, right? Like,
Yeah.
what's in it for
Yeah.
me? Well,
Yeah.
what's in it for me is I can live a little healthier. I can exercise a little bit more. I feel better. But yeah, it's hard to
Yeah.
convince us, right, to break that chain, that behavior.
That's so true.
Welcome back, everybody, to this week's RevOps podcast. I'm Alastair Woolcock, joined by my co-host Howard Brown, the pioneer and recognized authority in all things AI, rev science, and behavior change. We are thrilled to have with us today Darren Fay, who is the Director of Revenue Operations and Intelligence from Instructure, former fireman, lover of all things wake surfing, and just an all-in, pretty decent guy that we love chatting with. Darren joined us previously to really lean into some fantastic insights on the data governance side, some of the data maintenance side, and had a brilliant suggestions around ownership of campaign objects and how that ties into field leverage and some of the reporting side. However, today we want to have Darren back and tie in today what we call the lighthouse of RevOps, being the warning system, the fire lookout, to use a bad analogy on RevOps. Darren, awesome to have you back.
Thanks for having me, Alastair, and thanks, Howard.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, Howard, we left off last time pretty excited about some good things on the object side and campaign pieces that Darren was referencing for everybody. But today we want to tie into this idea of the metrics in RevOps and what it means to be the warning system. And I'll start with you, Howard, just in terms of this market is shifting very quickly in the world of AI right now.
Yes, it is.
As a result of that, a lot of sales, a lot of marketing processes, there's a lot of disruption happening, and certainly is going to accelerate here. Let's look at it from that lens, and let's just start with you. What are you seeing, and what are the early indicators that you want the RevOps world to be aware of as it pertains to how AI is impacting what's going on?
Well, first of all, it's never been a more exciting time to be in technology. I think several months ago, everybody felt like the technology market was falling apart, the stock market, banks were collapsing. Today, it's generative AI, it's ChatGPT, it's automation. As you know, at Revenue.io, we've been building on generative AI for 5 years now, but ChatGPT gave everybody the ability to actually touch AI. And that's what's so exciting. It's just revolutionizing everything, and people are throwing all kinds of problems at it and getting all kinds of different results. Now, I'm not saying that all the results are great, and I'm not saying that there's great products yet coming out. There's some, but boy, there's thousands of new ideas. But what's fascinating, what is so exciting, is the idea that we can augment human intelligence with artificial intelligence. So many people are worried that they're just going to be replaced. Some people will be replaced, absolutely. And the people that are going to be replaced, in my opinion, are the people who are actually not using artificial intelligence as a tool to augment their intelligence, to make certain that the things that they do on a daily basis that are mundane, that are better handled by machines, those are the things. Let's get those out of the process so that we can have conversations with our stakeholders, so we can have conversations with our prospects and customers, because as human beings, we need to provide value and offer solutions and listen. That is what's so critical. And so what's so exciting is the ability to actually study language models and help human beings to better connect with one another. That is a rich, rich opportunity. And what's really exciting is people are thinking about different ways to solve problems and trying all kinds of different things. And you talk about lighthouse, right? The idea that there is a way to predict when something is going to happen or not happen. That is a beautiful use of artificial intelligence. It's great at recognizing patterns, what's there, what's not there, utilizing technology to help us drive the right behaviors is, to me, I couldn't be more excited about it, as you can tell.
Darren, what's your take?
I've been playing around with AI for a while now, and I've definitely seen some really impactful activities that can happen from just a standard execution point of view. If I wanted to figure out what my mission statement for my department or my organization would be, historically, that's a very long conversation to put some things together and make sure you articulate it well enough, it sounds right, and just as a fun exercise for like people out there, just dip their toe in AI, put together all the great attributes that you want to embody, and have it put together a mission statement for you, and see what it comes out at. And oftentimes, you're not going to take the final output of something like that with AI. This is where Howard alluded to, like that augmenting between AI and or organic intelligence. I would say at that point, you're still going to have somebody who's going to review some things down the line. They're going to be executing it in another fashion, but it does exponentially reduce the amount of time some of those tasks would typically take you. If I wanted to go make sure I put together a structured email campaign, I could very easily leverage AI to put some of that together based on value propositions, based on how I want to message it, the way I want to communicate it, and then review that. And that review process is a lot quicker than that writer's block of creating something from scratch, right? And so there are so many variables that, AI touches within an organization. I'm really excited about it. I think there's a lot of great products that are in the market now and are going to be in the market very shortly based off around AI. And your ability to forecast, your ability to identify it and set ICP in a meaningful way that's more dynamic, that fluctuates more with the market trends. I can see a lot of that stuff moving a needle for an ever-changing, economy. You see, if the economy goes down and we see areas of other businesses doing better, you may be able to see a change in your ICP, and you may see who's a better target at that point. And I think it's going to allow us to adjust a lot quicker as organizations.
The example you used of writer's block. So we have thousands of reps, right, using our tools. And the primary utilization is they're either having a conversation on the phone or they're in a Zoom meeting or a team meeting. What are you supposed to do as a sales rep? You're supposed to follow up on that meeting with a very succinct follow-up letter or note that has what you covered, what the key issues are, and next steps, right? How many reps struggle to get that thing done, right? Like all of us, whether you're a rep or anything else, a follow-up email is the thing that we've had the greatest feedback in the shortest period of time of all of our products is the summarization post-meeting. That thing's done. And I'm not going to tell you that it's 100% correct. It's probably 85% correct. But that thing sitting in everybody's outbox saves so much time and energy. All the stuff we've built, that's the thing that people are most excited because the amount of block and time you spend, it's like, oh, I got to shift gears from having an incredible sales conversation. Now I got to draft an email. Maybe I got to listen to my recording or look at my note. It gets you out of that mojo, right? You're in it, you're talking, you're having success. And then you got to break and do it. And so it's really exciting to see people really take to that piece of it. So that block is real.
Yeah, it keeps your mind focused on the strategy of how to win the opportunity too. And I think there's a lot to be said about loss of productivity around shifting the way you think. If I'm going from a deep, detailed exercise, then I have to go into a big strategic conversation. The lag time for our own internal processing to go from those two different projects is severe. So if you can keep on target, it's definitely going to increase productivity across the board.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Context shifting is hard.
It's
as you think about this, and it does create the risk of additional tool proliferation. And I'm going to say actually AI proliferation, right? And are we somewhat entering into a stage of, I'll call it AI hallucination, right? In that, there is all of this art of what's the possible is, but it's driven by a lot of great thought leaders. But is it practically going to make the change that we think it will? Is it that's just living in the hyperbole state of what's there versus not? And I know there was a really fascinating article this week in The Guardian from Naomi Klein, she's famous for her shock doctrine and this changes everything research and stuff like that. They argued the point very heavily that this is largely in this hallucinated state of what's happening. Now, on the flip side of that, to get the counter of that view, you have like the guys over at All In, a bunch of VCs and all these sides sitting there and saying, look, if you aren't taking a third of your workforce now and having them experiment with generative technology, experiment with AI, you're going to miss the mark. Now, I tend to actually agree more with the latter, but I also then sympathize to the world of RevOps and go, you're literally going to get hit in most companies with both of those views. You have those that are constantly pushing ahead, and you got those that are going to say, no, there's no way this could ever help, and it's just more noise. Let's not worry right now. Darren, what are you hearing in the roundtables? Are people jumping like Howard and I saying, you need to embrace this? If you aren't taking a third of your company and getting them to experiment with this now, you're going to have big issues in 24 months' time, maybe 12. Or there are more people thinking, like Naomi, going, we're hallucinating. This is nowhere near close to making it.
Yeah, I think, well, just as a general practice, I think in revenue operations or across any portion of any business, I believe in segmenting time for professional development. And so I think in that segmented time for professional development, you should be focusing on things like this. We just had a conversation on my team around, I want everyone to play with it. I think it's an opportunity. You play with something, you get comfortable with it, right? And I asked for my team to block off a half hour a day, and every bit of that professional development should be focused on something that can help you grow as an individual. There's two ways that you can tackle bigger problems in a company. You either upskill your staff or you replace your staff with more skilled staff, right? And if you can upskill your staff, there's a lot more productivity from that than if you have to replace them, because you have the downtime for the knowledge loss and you have other aspects of it. So by having people focus on the professional development on a regular basis, you understand and learn new processes and new skills and new technologies. And if you do that, you can pick up stuff and pertain it to the business very quickly. And you can understand how it can affect the business because you're intimately aware of the business. If you bring somebody in new and they understand that product, it's still going to take them just as long to learn how to apply it to your business, right? And, I think with AI, the biggest concern that I think most people are going to have to deal with is the culture of, I have a need, I'm going to go put a field in. I have a need, I'm going to go put something in to just get it tracked. And with AI, you can't do that because if you do that and it's not managed, then you're going to get inaccurate insights. And it goes back to that garbage in versus garbage out, right? And, the idea of saying, hey, let's hold off. Let's keep our company focused on core metrics. Let's keep our company focused on what matters. And then at that point you say, okay, are we going to add this? What is it going to do? How's it going to impact the business? Is it worth managing? Is it worth putting some tech debt on the board? And then at that point, you're scaled for AI. Because I think if you have a bunch of this tech debt, it can be scary to implement something like AI because there's going to be a little bit of a lift if you've had the bad behaviors prior to go through and clean it.
A little bit, just an understatement there, Derek. Just a little bit of a lift, right?
I guess definitely depending on the situation, right? Like, how much data you're looking at.
Exactly. I think that from my perspective, taking a look across your customers, thinking about your company, and what are the real pain points that you have? Because you can throw this stuff at anything and try and solve every type of problem, and you can't boil the ocean. So what are the absolute pain points that you have that you can say, okay, we're going to do a proof of concept over here and see, does it make a marked difference in behavior, in productivity? And so if you understand your customers, if you understand your product and you understand your organization, you start to become aware of, nobody wants to write a follow-up email, right? Obvious, right? So look across your organization, look across your customers, and what are those obvious pain points, and focus there on a one use case and try and get everybody excited about that. And if you nail it, then you can go to the next one and to the next one. I see this as very much, I'm bald guy here, been around a long time. The first version of the internet, 96, built my first company, 97. Like, if you have an idea, you're going to throw it on the internet. It doesn't even matter what it was. I laughed with Alastair, actually had a website to type upside down. You can literally type and it would flip it up. useless, no business value whatsoever, but it was the internet. Why not give it a shot? I kind of feel that way in many ways about what's happening with AI. It's like, let's just figure out what a business problem is, figure out what people really need and solve for that. And that's my advice and sort of where to start.
Yeah, I think it's good advice. And we started using AI for forecasting last year, and initially there were some concerns, right? You were worried about it, but then people will get excited about the output, right? And then when people get excited about the output, the management becomes a lot easier because they know what they need to do to get the insights to keep getting what they want, right? And so I think, when you focus on AI and you start realizing the power of what you can get from it in terms of a return, the work leading into it to maintain certain aspects of it from like a rep perspective, which is usually the hardest to sell, becomes a lot easier. They realize I like to term the phrase, what's in it for me, right? And so for the sales rep, if it's, I get to spend more time doing this and I get to close more deals, okay, great. Then what I'm putting out is not a big deal. So when you're always focused on the benefit and the impact on the business, I think it definitely drives the behavior to support all sorts of great new technologies, which I'm looking forward to trying.
The only adjustment I'd have to your thinking there is I would limit that what's in it for me to just salespeople. I think as human beings,
yeah,
fortunately, unfortunately, however you want to look at it, we think about what's in it for me. And so if nothing's in it for them, why burn the calories?
So true.
And none of us are going to do it. We have to see the value. And if the value, the return on that value outweighs whatever you're putting in, yeah, I'm going to be interested. And if I get more and more, I'm going to be more interested. So I'm going to do the work to be the best, right? I'm going to do the work to get the best results. And if the work is minimal and the results are amazing, yes, I want more of it.
I love that you clarified that, because when you're talking about wanting to bring on a new technology from like a RevOps standpoint, and you need executive sponsors, right? And let's say you want to go do something new that's going to impact the organization. Understanding what's in it for them, for the executive standpoint, is what sells the opportunity to bring on that new product to actually impact the business. Because, as it stands, it's not always easy to help somebody help themselves, right?
Yes.
It's like, hey, I know this can solve your problem, and I know this can solve X and Y, but until they fully can understand the impact that it has and what's in it for them in terms of the value for their personal mission, then at that point, you've just built, a whole group of champions around your initiative if you can actually articulate it right.
Yeah, it's like my wife telling me you got to stop eating the desserts every night, right? Like, what's in it for me? Well, what's in it for me is I can live a little healthier, I can exercise a little bit more, I feel better. But yeah, it's hard to convince us, right, to break that chain, that behavior.
That's so true.
And I think the behavior piece is such an important one, right? Always framing and looking at the functional steps what we can automate, what steps in the workflows across all the dependency of RevOps that we can impact. But at the end of the day, for all of the insight and all the metrics and tactics we put in place, we're doing and applying generative to change a behavior, to change an action, to change a person. Howard, we frame you, you've spent a ton of time in behavior, and Darren, you're seeing and living behavior change in companies every day. How this is a highly disruptive thing that's going on. Nobody actually really loves change. People say they love it, but they often push back against it when it happens to them, right? They love to see it, but they don't want it to happen in front of them and in the areas that they deal with. They're comfortable. So when you think of RevOps, when we think of actually applying behavioral change, making people embrace that. Thoughts?
Yeah, I'm going to jump in because I think Derek actually said it. I love the idea of having everybody spend 30 minutes touching the technology, because then they're no longer a victim to it. They're a part of it. They're living it. They're seeing the value of it. So that, all of our listeners, think about that. Let people touch it and play with it. That's why we're seeing this massive adoption and excitement, is because it's not happening to them. It's happening with them, and then it will happen for them. So I'm taking Derek's advice.
Also, just understanding, like we've been talking about, what's in it for them. I think when you realize and you can understand from a change management standpoint where their pain points are and what they really care about, they may be fighting change because of this small factor that is a change that they feel like is uncomfortable to them. The only way you're going to make them okay with it is when they understand that this thing that you're giving to them is going to be solving a bigger problem that's also something that you've been hating. And if, that outweighs the other thing that they're concerned about, then you have somebody who's bought in. If you can just purely explain, the value of what you're bringing to them and the problems you're going to solve, great. But sometimes it does take talking to those people and saying, hey, tell me why you'd hate this process, or, warrant some feedback. If you're saying, hey, is this something that you're hating because of this, and kind of dive deeper, ask for the 5 whys, right?
Yeah.
Dive in a little bit, see if you can really get to the root of the problem. And I'm all for transparency. My team, one of the things I try to embody is I don't want anybody to agree with me. I want to have a debate about everything. If everybody's coming and agreeing with me, something's broken. Because if I'm the only person who's going to come up with great ideas, then we're failing already. So getting people to feel comfortable to talk through what they think is a better idea or what's not, if they can start poking holes in it, you've just gotten honest feedback about something that you can then leverage, just like you'd want in a sales motion. You want to know all the problems they have with it so that you can leverage that and then use it to sell back to them, right? It's the same thing with like putting a new operational process in place. Listen to them as your customer.
All right. I love all of that. We're nearing the bottom of our timing game. But I got a final question. And Darren, I'll let you go first. We spent a lot of time talking about the people change, how we need to be the lighthouse, the organization on applying these technologies, more advanced technologies. Give me your wish list of a future state 12 months from now, what generative AI is doing in your org.
Oh, wow. I would say data quality monitoring and data enrichment from non-traditional sources. I think there's an opportunity to get non-traditional data enrichment, whether it's listening to calls and then farming information to append onto an account, right? And make sure you capture those items and then leverage those for an ICP, so that you're getting more real time. If you have a ICP right now, a lot of people are using, account attributes and then their firmographic, and they're pretty much, a point in time. All those firmographics started somewhere. When they made a decision to go do this different business motion, that was something that they made a decision on, and then it became the reality and they brought it in. Getting ahead of all that, could you imagine having the capability to leverage that to go get in front of those customers while it's a hot topic before it becomes a standard operating procedure? And I think it would be hugely valuable in targeting efforts.
I love that idea. Howard?
In 12 months, I want to reduce the manual process across all the organization by 40%. And I want to increase the utilization of AI in real time during conversations, every single employee, every conversation.
It'd be helpful.
I love both of those.
Yeah.
Listen, guys, it has been a brilliant conversation. Thank you so much, as always. Darren, keep up the great work. And also, I want to advise the community, how do they get in touch with you and the open source community you have for RevOps leadership as well?
Yeah. So just LinkedIn, Darren Fay, F-A-Y. And then if they would like to check out RevOps Roundtable, it's www.revopsroundtable.com. And I'd love to chat with anybody if they ever have any questions as well. So if you just want a private message, I'm always happy to talk RevOps.
Fantastic. Well, listen, it has been a wonderful conversation with you.
Yep.
Again, we're so appreciative to have you on and all of what you're doing in the thought leadership space and just the actionable advice that you have. It's been a pleasure having you with us. We look forward to more from Howard and I. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Call us in for additional questions. Let's try to stuff Howard on some future behaviors, all things AI and everything else. You can reach us at 323-540-4777. That's 323-540-4777. And we'll see you on the next episode. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Darren. Thanks, Alastair.
Thank you both.